That's all we got. It's here now, baby. Happy Monday, real life real estate. I'll get my guest signed in here. Man, we are in the thick of it, aren't we? August 17th was 2 days ago, and there is more mass confusion right now than there ever has been before. And all I can say is we are providing value more than people know. And the questions are rampant, and most people just don't get it. So we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff today. But today, Stephanie Barry's going to be my co-host today for Real Life Real Estate. She's got a scenario that you're not going to believe. Just the amount of stuff. If you start wondering if you have value or not, listen to the stuff that, we're not important until there's a problem. There she is.
I was trying to figure it out. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. Thank you for sharing. I think it's really important that, I was very thankful for you to share these experiences, because if you're going through them, other people are going through them, right?
Yeah.
Be more as a group than we would be if we didn't share our tales of woe, if you will.
Right. Right.
So let's get started with you. Give us the background of your situation, and then I've got a whole bunch of other stuff I'll fill time in with later.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So
I
first of
have,
all, you're an agent with us in Madeira Beach,
yes.
right? You're
Yeah.
about a year in the business now.
Yep. Just about a year. Yep.
You're a FISBO hunter, which I'm super proud of. And you've got a side business at John's Pass where you rent jet skis.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Just a little
Yeah.
background.
So, yeah. I actually, so I did some RSP marketing last year.
Ooh,
So I was able to get in touch with some absentee owners. Essentially, it was a condo that was inherited through his father, and they weren't using it anymore, and so they just decided they needed to sell it in a 55 and older community. And we got started, so I guess I probably signed with them in February, and we went through, got this started, set it at a little bit higher than I was probably ultimately comfortable with, but had a pricing strategy in place. So if something didn't happen, and so we moved it down. So we had open house after open house. We had really good traffic and interest and traffic. So it led us to believe that we weren't just quite priced right, but we were getting the visibility that we needed. So, throughout the course of weekly emails, weekly conversations. Oh, I probably should note that both of my clients are deaf. And so I have to communicate everything through like text and email to them, and they live in New York. And so I was able to meet the husband and I guess it was in February, but and so just kind of had to keep that creation. So a lot of it was really good learnings, right? How do you make sure you're not emotional in a text?
right. I just want to pause you for a second here. I mean, when you just dropped a death bomb on me, right?
Yeah.
People don't think about things like that. This is real life real estate, and the value that you bring and the comfort. First of all, you're calling absentee owners in another state that have inherited a condo that they know really not a lot about, and they're
Right.
legally deaf, right?
Yes.
This is
Yes.
not in Chapter 475's job description of a real estate agent.
No.
Right? And
No, it's
to
not.
boot, you're it's a condominium complex in a
Yes.
55 and older community, right? Are there any
Yeah.
challenges with condominiums right now?
Yeah, and he knew nothing about or understood the whole milestone. I mean, they knew nothing about it. They know nothing about it. All they know is that their condo fees went from 595 one month all over to almost 900 within 6 weeks. Fortunately for them, they didn't have to do any special assessments, but that's all he knew is I don't understand. So now what was probably a $6,000 a year investment for him to just kind of keep a place in Florida. Now we're looking at practically 13 grand for him to keep a place in Florida that his family has openly said, we're never going to use this, Dad. We're just never going to use this.
Yeah, well, they can't. They're not 55 and older.
Right. But even to come down, I mean, they didn't come down and want to visit. So all of these things. So yeah, so we just went through and did like weekly emails so that they would have an idea of what was going on in the market. And pretty much in this environment, everything had come to a screeching halt because of all these laws that were coming down. What's going on? Why are the HOAs so high? And at that point in this specific area, they had the highest HOA because they took care of everything prior to everyone else taking care of everything. And so everyone else was just kind of staggering it through the course of the year. And all of their HOAs in this big community park will be at the same. But at the time, we had square footage as an advantage to us. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, immaculate. It was going to come fully furnished. So we had a lot of things. And so we were probably about, I don't know, 15 grand more than what I was comfortable listing it at. But with the pricing strategy, I felt like, okay, we can do this. So about a month and we lowered it.
So you started at what price?
269. And the comps would suggest we were probably going to get, I don't know, in between 240 and 245. So I felt comfortable with that. We'll at least be in the same ballpark of people looking at this place, and we'll just deal with the offer if we get it. And like I said, we had a ton of people looking. So it wasn't that we weren't getting, people looking during open houses. Then we lowered it to 225 in May. So we did aggressive price strategies as opposed to weekly. So he didn't want us to ever look desperate. He wanted us to look strategic, and I appreciated that about him. So we lowered it to 225 because a very like condo that was pretty much the same thing in the same complex. It didn't have the open floor plan, but it did have the 2-2. Put theirs on the market for 190. And I said, I was like, okay, if they disappear quickly, then we're okay. Like, we're okay. But if this stays on the market, we're in big trouble. This is changing the market right now for us. So that's when we moved it to 225. So we would at least get people looking at our condo if they were going to look at that one as well. And then through the course of open houses, I definitely saw a decrease in the amount of people that were coming through the open houses. Granted, kind of the part time of the year with the 55 and older community, the snowbirds had started to go home. So all of those different things had kind of fallen down. So now we're into, and the only condo that was a 2-2 that had sold was in April, and it sold at 220. And so from April all the way until I think the next recorded 2-2 in this area that sold was the 29th of July. So we're a huge disparity of time, and not because there wasn't any on the market, but because that was kind of where everyone was at, and everyone was priced higher. So
how many are
now
in that neighborhood? A lot.
I would say plus 30. A lot, a variety of different reasons. Getting out because of the HOA, whether that's because they are actually living there. Well, I did meet someone that lived in that complex at another open house that I was at, like over in Largo, and she was living in 5 towns, and she had put her house on the market as well for the same reason, because she couldn't afford the HOAs. So a little bit of the HOAs getting out of, but also at the same time, or if they didn't live there like mine, it was now too expensive to hold on to. It didn't make sense to hold on to. So we're now getting into July where we're seeing nothing. And it's painful for them. But I'm also getting now, as everyone can do the math, that to the end of my contract with them. And so how do I get them to sign a new contract and say, like, this is the route I think we should go? We explored renting. They didn't want to do that. Um, and so and then also try and explain how these laws were changing, because I had to get them to obviously sign those documents too, but not get them to adjust as I'm asking them to take the price down, not not offering buyer commission too, because I knew that that was a competitive advantage that we would have no matter what at that point too. So
So how did you handle
yeah,
the buyer commission discussion?
well, I was hemming and hawing over kind of which way to go after this, because I had to ask them for an extension in the contract and at the same time still introduce this. And so I really had to go after it from a competitive advantage. Like, we don't have to pay it, but we need to at least offer it for right now. Like, it has to be offered, and we can negotiate it if it gets down to where the price is just so low we don't want to include it in it. So
Well, remember, when the
and
price goes down, the commission goes down too.
exactly.
Because I know the end of this story, and it's substantially less than what they started out asking.
Yeah. So now we had lowered it to 195 at this point in July. So now we're with the rest of the 2.2s in that market, and there still are some that are above. And actually, the unit below mine, very nice woman from Texas, she talked to me about listing her condo, and she wanted to list it at 269, and I said, I can't do it. I literally can't do it. I just, like, and Jeff uses this expression, death by a thousand cuts. Like, that would have just been horrible. And I'm like, I can't do it. So she has actually listed her condo with someone else at 269, and she's going to die. She's going to die. So we're now at 195. He doesn't know what to do. He's decided I had to point blank say to him, do you want to get rid of this condo? Like, are you done with it? Or are you trying to make a decision to just hold off in this market right now? And he said, I need to get rid of it. I said, okay, so let's do this. So there is another condo on the market for 170. So we couldn't even put it at 170, because now we're just like another condo. So we needed to kind of spark it. So I said, let's do it at 159, which is, I mean, this is $110,000 less than what he listed it at. Is, I mean, just a dagger through the heart, right, for him. But again, I don't own that. I did everything I could during that time frame, I felt like, to help sell it. Just the way the market is, and especially with the milestone and the condos are at this point. So
Well, you got 30 units for sale in the community, and you're only selling one a month. There's a 30-month supply of homes.
exactly
30 months, $900 a month
Mm.
times 30 months is $27,000.
Yeah,
Right? And they're going to pay that,
right.
pay property taxes, plus you're paying insurance, and it's just bleeding them.
Yes.
No, you probably
Yeah,
don't answer this question, but they inherited the unit,
they did.
so
They did.
it's a gain to them no matter what. I wonder what the parents paid
Yep.
for it back in the day.
I don't know. It was in the early 90s too that they inherited, not even that they bought it, then they inherited. And so, that's one of the things that you kind of have to keep saying in your head as you're trying to lower it for them, or thinking about lowering, is like, this is a 100% win. Okay, forget about the possibility. Unless it happens, it's not going to happen. But this is 100% win for them. No matter what, this is 100% win. So once we put it to 159, I went ahead and I had Kathy from Paramount create a net sheet for me, so that they knew exactly what that was going to look like at 159, and he signed off on it. So we said, okay. He said, okay, let's do it. I said, we're going to have a competitive advantage at this point. Let's just try this. Let's see if it works. And within a week, we had 2 offers.
Well, think about the trust he had to put in you, right? As
Yeah,
we wonder what value we provide to a real estate transaction. Look at the trust, these strangers from out of state who don't know you from anybody,
you're
and
right.
they're strategizing with you for you to solve their problem. This is what we do
Right.
with real estate people, right? It's not opening doors for people and showing houses. It's strategically representing their interests to help them figure out what's best for them. So I think it's really
Right.
important, they know that you've got their back and
Yeah.
go more. So you drop the price to 159, which is a bold move to take advantage of the other people that are on the market saying, hey, I'm here. Look at anything
Yep.
special. And so what happened now? You got multiple offers?
Yeah, we got 2 offers. Well, we got one offer that came through on a Friday, and we had dropped it 2 days prior to that. So we had an immediate offer, but it was contingent on another home selling. And we went back and forth with it. And I said, if we do this, we technically go off market in a lot of ways. And so that competitive advantage in this market, we're now relying on another home selling in this market. And that makes me nervous to do that. And we're going to lose this competitive advantage of just other people could now start to move their home at that price. And we could be just pending for quite some time. And it was pending on financing. And so we were looking at, this is in August, the beginning of August, and we were looking at it being I think the closing was set up for the beginning of October, if I'm not mistaken. So really long time. So I talked to them about doing some of those other things that you can do, like the amendment, like you have to be under contract in a week. I talked to them about doing all of those, and I said, these are your options. Don't take it, do it with a clause, or completely just take it and go with it. So they decided to just not take it. Another gamble on their part, but they did decide just to not take it. And
Well,
then,
they're the prettiest girl at the dance right now. At
yes,
159, they cut.
right, exactly. And we were very, very, like we said, we have this amazing, we can't, we're positioned in a really good spot right now. If there's buyers out there, we will get them to look at us at this point. And through this, they think there's something wrong with their condo. Like, why don't people like it? They're emotional about it. It's been in the family for a really long time. So couple days later, we get another call. We want to see the condo. Okay, let's go see it today. And then their original ones actually went under contract with their home that quickly. So now we have 2 offers right there. One is a cash offer, one is still contingent on the financing piece of it. So the interesting thing, that the woman that I was dealing with the one that had the financing offer, she had a daughter that she was sending out to do some of her legwork, and she should not have done that. She should have not done that. The daughter really struggled with any level of communication. And I said to the daughter, while the couple was looking at the home again, like, I just want you to know we did have a showing earlier today. And they did say that they were going to put in an offer. And she was like, oh, really? Really? Okay. And I was like, you might want to let your mom know that. And she was like, oh, should I? And I'm like, you think maybe you might want to let your mom know that? And so, long story short, so we went under contract with the one that was, they actually offered 165. So we got it over asking. They obviously didn't know what the other contract was, not only financing, but it was a 3% rate buy down as well. So that net was like 142, and this one is 160, 58 with all the fees and stuff like that. And so then we got into the inspection period and they're arguing over like $200. And I'm like, we need to look at the, so again, I had Kathy do another net sheet. I'm like, these are the net sheets. If we walk away from this deal right now, like this is, it's $200. So lo and behold, we're closing on Wednesday of this week. So it was a 2-week close too, which is awesome.
Mhm.
Which is awesome.
So that is amazing job on your part to stay
Thanks.
with them through that process, right? 6 months on the market. This is real world real estate today. They're like, you don't know because you haven't been in the business that long, but that's
Yeah.
not uncommon, right? Getting listings extended after 6 months on the market is not uncommon, right?
Yeah.
Starting at 269 and dropping all the way to 159. That's $110,000 drop. That's like a 40% drop in price.
Yeah. 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 And that's what I kept saying in my head. Like, it's, even if you look at the dollar amount, the 40% drop is like, that's just insane that we had to do that. But when you look at their HOA fees and how much they increased, and within a calendar, they were almost 100% increase and condo fees. And granted, this one doesn't have any special assessments coming up, but still, no matter what, when you're 55 and older living on a fixed income, you see that and you say, is this really, you got to really love the community and understand the community to move forward with that.
I'm going to make up a number, but this is reality, right? If my condo fees go up $500 a month, that's the same as my mortgage payment going up $500 a month.
Right.
Which decreases my buying power by $500 a month. And if you put an interest rate to $500 a month, it's probably 40 or 50,000 bucks, right? So even though we started at 249, we really should have started at 200 because that's how the condo affected that price, right? And for all the other agents out there listening to this, wait, if you have a condo, you have to consider what these fees are. I mean, I know here in Apollo Beach, one place went from $600 a month to $1,200 a month. That's a lot because they got to build up the reserves so their accounts can be good. And now they just passed some new laws that the condo association board people have to be certified and educated, which is a great idea, in my opinion. Right? So that's super challenging.
Well, I think I do think the long term of all of these condos is really healthy. I think the time frame, to get these all completed was really, really pressing on a lot of these owners, whether it's, you hear just these horror stories of having to do a $33,000 assessment. I mean, it just, the time frame was just really pressing. And so, everyone has access to Zillow. He probably been thinking about selling his home for over a year and saw what Zillow was saying and doesn't understand how much this just impacted, between the HOAs and the milestone and then insurance going up. He just didn't, and being an absentee owner, how would he really understand how much that was impacted? And in a lot of ways, I didn't understand how much it was going to be impacted, or I never would have, I would have said, like I did to the other woman, like, she's still at 269 now, and she's not there. And I'm like, I flat out told her I cannot list it for that price. I can't do it. And she found someone that did, but they're going to be going through the same thing.
Oh, now
especially once this one sells. I know, yeah, I'm not proud to have the lowest comp of the neighborhood, but it is what it is. I'm proud to sell it more than anything. So, but yeah, it's, and they'll be happy in the end. Last week was really emotional for them, just all the things that were going on. It's an emotional, real estate is just really emotional. I had to have his daughter involved to go talk to him about everything to make sure that it was being communicated appropriately so that he knew that I was still fighting for him and that I wasn't, and he kept saying, this just isn't fair. This just isn't fair. And he's not wrong. It's not fair to him, but it's the reality of the way it is. And his daughter was an intricate part of helping me just make sure that he was okay. And he wasn't thinking it was my fault in this whole situation either.
Kimberly just chatted in. I'm about to list a condo that's expecting a $260,000 special assessment.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's probably $1 million condo, but still, a $260,000 assessment
Oh,
affects the value of the real estate. Jennifer wrote it
oh,
in Lee County. A lot of condos can only go cash because the associations are in litigation with the insurance companies. Also, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have loan stipulations on condos who are under ACV or RCV policies. A lot happening in the condo market. Yeah, you did the
yeah,
right
Jennifer,
thing.
we had that too. This is a cash dominant market as well. The only lender that I found, because through that search I had to figure that out, was Bank of Tampa. That was the only one that I found that doesn't get associated with the Fannie Mae and Freddie. That, I mean, that might help a little bit, but that I at least had a lender that there was an option with.
Wow. All right. So,
Yeah.
first of all, kudos to you for sharing, number one, but for making the initiative to call absentee owners, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever question the title ability? This is an inherited condo. Did it have to go through probate? Did you know any of that?
No, I actually was concerned about that and asked him because obviously we have that other one that I was on for like a month ago that's going through litigation. So I got a crash course in what it looks like to have heirs and have to deal with all of that. So um no, and I actually originally had it with a title company with a lawyer because I was concerned about that. And but then I was concerned about our turnaround time, and I said I just got to go with Paramount, and we're going to have to roll the dice with this. Is I didn't want anything on my end to slow up the process, and I was actually worried if I went through a lawyer based title company that I was going to have to that I was going to slow it down. So he was the only heir to it. He is the only heir to his father's estate. So I had asked those questions in advance just to make sure that none of that handwritten paperwork back in the 90s would have an issue. And so they did have to, Megan and her team of Victoria had to go back and say, like, we need to get this full document. And they had confirmed they had all of that, so they had to scan it in, obviously, and then sent it off. So we should be fine with all of that. But I mean, yeah, that is very honest as to what could happen and might have happened had there been a couple of. If he had siblings, I probably would have really started that process a long time ago to make sure that we were clearing that up before anything happened at this stage of the game, because that could just make the deal go south very quickly.
Yep. So as we question ourselves with all the questions going on in the real estate market and what value we bring to a transaction, look at all the stuff that has to happen. And this is a complicated one, right? There are some easy ones, but really there aren't very many easy ones. There's always a twist that makes it
Yeah.
more complicated, right? This one just happened to have a whole lot. And for you to stick through it with them and then to stick through it with you, right? See, a lot of
Yeah.
agents would not take the initiative to, death by a thousand cuts. I love that term, right? You could have been farting around with this for another 6 or 7 months,
Yeah.
going 269 to 259 to 249. In the meantime, somebody's going to come in and undercut you, and now you got a comp. So those other 30 units for sale, that woman that's listed at 269, she's never going to sell
No.
because now the comps are there at 165, and you got over asking price.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. So by doing that steep, deep cut, because situations warranted it, right? If they were living in the house and that, that's okay. It's different scenario. It's bleeding them. It's
Yeah.
cost $600, $900 a month to own this building they don't plan on seeing. Now that's a really nice car payment.
Right. Right.
I
And
bet they're really going to be happy to get the $150,000 net cash in their pocket.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, those were some of the things that I kept reminding myself, like as I was, you know, going through the processes, like 100% equity stuff. Like they're getting 100% equity. It's costing them like 11 to $13,000 a year based on what like I had figured out. like these two things, like they should be at the top of their motivation, and understand that from an emotional perspective, it's a little bit more than that. But once they've made that decision to sell, like there is a process that they'll all go through, is like nervous about selling it, then you decide you're going to sell, then why haven't it sold? And so I knew that that would hit the point. But I mean, I was talking to everyone in the Madeira Beach office about it. If you were, if anyone was in the office, I was talking to them about what I should do. How do I handle this? What do I do? How do I handle this? And so I'm thrilled for them that this process is over for them, and that they'll be able to move on with their life, and hopefully celebrate with some of the money that they have too.
Yeah, $150,000 windfalls. Thanks, Dad. Right.
Yeah.
You wrote at the end of your note to me, it's not a lot of money, 159, 165 for a condo sale, right?
No.
But you said this is a sport, right?
It is a sport.
It is a sport, right? You had to get the win. And you said,
Yeah.
year one is a learning year, and you got a vision board and a primary aim for year two. And I've got every confidence that you're going to rock it because you did the tough things, right? Getting the listing is tough. Managing the listing is even tougher, especially with a disabled couple that is hard to communicate with in another state that you don't know from anybody. You know, if you guys are start to second guess your value that you bring to a transaction, rewatch this video and look at the nuances, right? You've learned so much in your first year of real estate. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
Really. It's a school of hard knocks, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I want to thank you for sharing too, because not a lot of people
Sure.
did. You actually replied to my email. I sent a little snotty email the other night saying, retire or get engaged because the world is changing, right? And I'm watching these things happen. I've got a whole bunch more to talk about today, but I'm not going to do it because we're over time. But it'll come out in sales meeting tomorrow, right? There's a lot of changes going on, and more that now than ever, we have to demonstrate our value, right? And you have certainly taught all of us the value you brought to this transaction, because it wouldn't have happened without you doing that. And now a whole bunch of other agents. You mentioned there's a lot of realtors that have those listings in that community, right? And they didn't have the courage to get it done, and you did. So kudos to you. Congratulations. Closings this week.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think I even actually mentioned that before the what offer that we went with released her contract to me, or her contract to buy it, she asked for the compensation document too, just to make sure. I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
Let's talk about that real quick before we go. So you had to renew the listing. So you had to have the commission discussion with him, because commissions are not set by law and they're negotiable. So what did he end up offering as commission?
2.5 on the same side, both sides.
Really?
Yeah. She asked me immediately if there was commission that was going to be offered, and I said we are, with the right price. And then she said, before I go ahead and submit an offer, do you mind if I get that document? I said, no, not problem at all. And so I just sent it off to her, and then instantly the other document came through. So that probably would have changed the asking price drastically. Whichever way, who knows? But yeah, that we did go through that.
Cool. Jennifer typed in, please share your contact info. Would you mind typing your contact info into the chat?
Sure.
Make sure it says to all. Everyone, rather. Cool. Guys, this is like my favorite segment, is real life real estate. So please share your stories with us as they go, because we can all learn together, right? And you handled this like a pro, Stephanie. Congratulations for being the professional you are. There it is, Stephanie Berry, 727-258-1553. Cool. All right, well, lots more to talk about, but we'll do that another day. A lot of this settlement stuff is just flowing through my email. And Sammy is doing a magnificent job explaining what's going on. And there's just still a lot of confusion. So it's going to take time for us to get through all this. But I promise you, 90 days from now, you're going to look back and say, wow, this really worked out well for us. So keep the faith. Happy Monday. Thank you. Cool.
Bye, everyone.
Again, thank you very much. See you soon.
Thanks. No problem.
Okay.